There is no doubt there's going to be critics out there who will say that I'm engaging in rage bait by putting out a video like this. But I believe that this discussion is quite necessary if we truly want to end the war among the people of the diaspora. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. As the title of this video indicates, African and Caribbeans are totally responsible for starting this conflict. Now, I'm sure many of you will disagree, but I'm quite confident by the end of this video, you will regretfully acknowledge that I'm right. A lot of guys in the diaspora are suffering from cognitive dissonance, unable to see the part they played in this mess. By constantly deflecting and placing blame on Black Americans, you guys attempted to conceal the undeniable truth that your attitudes toward Black Americans actually fostered this division. There's a common denominator here between African and Caribbeans that has fueled this division. Both groups have allowed themselves to be brainwashed by their white masters into thinking that Black Americans are beneath them. This is not my opinion. This sentiment is well documented. Now, let me say for the record, you will not find this sentiment of equal contempt documented anywhere concerning Black Americans. Any disrespectful comments that you heard from us was retaliatory in nature. For many decades, we have seen and heard the disrespectful comments that was coming from you guys, and we remain quiet. Clearly, times have changed. Now, let's look at the Caribbean culture in general, but in particular, let's look at the Jamaican culture. I want to start with this article that was published in 1963 by Lennox Raphael. The article is entitled "To Be or Not to Be an American Negro." Now, I found out about this article from a YouTube channel, Professor Black Truth. I'm going to play a portion of this video where he introduces the topic and reads the article out loud. Now, I'm not going to play the entire video because of time restraints. I just want you to see how far back in time these negative sentiments was going on towards Black Americans.
This morning's briefing dovetails with yesterday's in that we're going to continue discussing the threat to Black empowerment that comes from these tethers, but this time we're going to do it with a historical view. So we're going to focus on the fact that there's nothing new about it. I'll be reading an entire article from a publication called Negro Digest. This article in particular came to my attention through Twitter, one of those rare occasions when the website actually gives something good. Now, by the way, if that name Negro Digest, if it doesn't even sound remotely familiar, there's a reason for that. It's a very old publication that went out of print a long time ago. The article that I'm going to read for you in its entirety was written by a man named Lennox Raphael, who was of West Indian descent, and he felt moved to expose and call out the rabid anti-FBA hostility from the West Indian immigrants. But that's only half of the reason why I want you to know about this article. The other half of the reason is that this was published in November of 1963. That's before the Voting Rights Act or the Civil Rights Acts were passed. It's before the Immigration and Nationality Act of 65, which lifted the immigration restrictions on Black immigrants, was passed. What were the attitudes of these Caribbean Blacks towards foundational Black Americans before Kamala Harris's allegedly Jamaican father came here to cruise for non-Black sex? What were their attitudes before the likes of Candace Owens' people got here and the Eric Holders and the Kristen Clarks? We know what the attitudes have been of the Caribbean immigrants who came after 65. But this Negro Digest article, written by a man of West Indian descent, documents what it was before 65, and that this anti-FBA hostility has a long track record. You'll be disgusted by what you hear, but of course not surprised. In fact, the article reads as if we, the New Voices of Black Media, wrote it, even though it was written before any of us were even born. And I should also mention that the person credited with having brought this article to people's attention is a Twitter account under the name Strictly for My NGZ, so salute to them. Now, the title of this article is To Be or Not to Be an American Negro. Some West Indians resent being called Negroes, and yet they are not accepted as white, and they're too well off here to go back to the islands. My aunt was very happy yesterday. I hadn't seen her so happy for a long, long time. She had become an American citizen. Proudly, she unwrapped the letters from the governor and the mayor and showed them to me. Her happiness seemed so pathetic, so wanting of something which is essential to happiness, belief, that I felt sorry for her. Imagine, she said, hugging me effusively, the governor and the mayor wrote me. Me! That's a fine action on the part of the governor and the mayor, I told her, handing back the standard informal letters which bore the signatures of the two officials, stamped by anonymous clerks. Well, you can stay here for the rest of your life now, I told her. She turned on me as though I had cursed her. Who? Me? Not me and these people, I can never be an American. But you have citizenship now. That doesn't mean anything. Citizenship doesn't mean much to her, she says in an effort to cover up what really means so much to her. A woman past 50 here in the USA for 5 years. She doesn't want to be considered an American Negro. As a matter of fact, she's ashamed of being an American Negro. And this is the standard neurosis of the average West Indian immigrant. He or she does not want to be considered an American Negro. Subconsciously, they believe that the white man prefers them as non-American Negroes. In short, she wishes to be the white man, and he may well be happy because he seems to be succeeding in dehumanizing himself. This is the color complex of the West Indian Negro, one who doesn't understand the fight for freedom in America, one who doesn't wish to understand it, and one who, even understanding it, doesn't have any sympathy for it. It's a further chapter in the history of the international black man's effort to escape from his skin and his being. I have yet to meet a West Indian Negro who doesn't feel he is better than the American Negro and, therefore, equal to the American white with whom he wishes to associate. Not everybody born in the West Indies can be a Sidney Poitier or a Cleveland Robinson, two of the many West Indians who have entered the mainstream of American life. The majority, whether they come from Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, or Grenada, or any other part of the Caribbean, seek to degrade the American Negro.
Let me take this opportunity to provide you more evidence that highlights the immigrant experience when it comes to Jamaicans. This article comes from NBC News. The title is, In Solidarity, When Caribbean Immigrants Become Black, Why Do Some Caribbean Immigrants Take Care to Define Themselves as Separate from Native-Born African Americans? Now, let me read from a particular part of this article. I won't read the whole thing, of course. Just enough to give you guys an idea. This is March 2nd, 2015, and this is what it says. I listened with fascination as my Jamaican immigrant students enumerated the way West Indians were superior to African Americans. Children from the Caribbean went to better primary schools, didn't skip classes, had parents who taught them manners and had more respect for authority in their elders. West Indians, she said, were willing to work hard, and African Americans were lazy. More than anything, she couldn't stand being mistaken for a Black American. This is what we constantly deal with these West Indian immigrants.
I'm not going to speak for my whole country, love Jamaica, but I think quite a few Jamaicans think that you guys play the victim a lot. Like outsider looking in, it's like, gosh, them complain about everything. Look how much opportunity them have. Look how them can work. Look how them can buy $1 burger. And them over there complain. And that is how I was preconditioned, if I'm being totally honest. They're like, Shante,
it makes sense.
Yeah, don't go over there and waste the opportunity. Don't go over there and start complaining. Work for your own, focus on that. So that's always been my mindset. We're so focused on just making it. I really want to emphasize that. But sometimes when you just are focused about, oh, you have to eat, you know, think say somebody a touch you. You know, think say, you know, oh, I'm gonna have the right temperature. I'm hungry. What y'all gonna do? Like, you
just pause. Just to translate, she was talking about when when you're focused, when you're so hungry, you're not worried about who's doing this or that. You're just trying to eat. You just gotta get the food, put it in your mouth, and then get to work so you can go eat again, right? Just to translate that, because I know some of y'all probably lost. Just want to clarify that.
And we'll have subtitles if needs be, right?
No, you got me. I'm right here. It is our job, or it's everybody's job, to be able to grow up and be able to see through other lenses and other perspectives without having to live that experience.
I know, get it. And I think a lot of Jamaicans don't get that because they have never been here and they don't live the life of a Black American.
What's unfortunate is that immigrants come to this country not understanding the history and really believe that somehow it's because of the generosity of white people that they're allowed to come here. So this is the reason why we can't align and unify. Now, granted, Jamaicans are doing much better, but it's still a problem. I have 2 clips I want to show you guys featuring Africans discussing the division between us and them. This first clip features 2 guys who appear to be Nigerian trying to explain this division. Now, in most cases, Africans will acknowledge that they got the talk, which is to say, stay away from Black Americans. To justify their feelings towards us, they argue that we engage in stereotypes and misinformation about them that also contributes to the division. So let's play this first clip.
Why are African immigrants and African Americans or Black Americans?
Everybody had their orientation differently. Before I came here, people already told me that African Americans don't get closer to them, that they shoot gun, they do this.
Who told you? You saw on TV or somebody?
Exactly. That is what they saw on TV. And so when we come here, we have that mindset that these people, they are slaves too, because we saw them on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so to blame us, it is important that we are all accept that we come here different orientation, and some of them see us too as enemy, because they said we are the one who sold them. My grandfather doesn't even know about slavery. And so
they see us as primitive.
Yeah. Well, they see us too as that.
Yeah.
Even in the classroom, when I was in school, some professors will treat African different from African American.
Yeah.
Because they believe we come here for a purpose and we're gonna leave. They see African Americans are gonna stay here and they will not leave. And they still have the stereotype that they are not serious. Even though they have so many of them that are PhD holders, they are genetics, they are this, they still cut them down. But they see Africa that can go back. You may not hear our accent very well, understand our accent, but they know we are smart. So when it comes to African American and Africans, we can cohabitate, but we will not blend.
Do you think that something happened with because our Black American brothers and sisters, at some point, their ancestors came from Africa?
And that is the problem.
So do you think that something really happened with the Black person? And I want to focus on Black person, which makes division a way of us being able to get manipulated? Do you think something was planted in our minds in the way we perceive each other that will never make us feel the need to come together again? When do we return as Black people?
And we cannot get over something that has been planted there from generation to generation. It is something that we all inherited. When you said they come from that place, but they also have the notion that we're the one who sold them here. When we traveled back to Africa, they see us that we have a place to go. They don't see themselves having another place to go. So that jealousy is there too.
Is it jealousy? Is it pain? Is it the pain of a culture that has been taken away from you, erased?
Jealousy in a way that is a positive jealousy, in the sense that they are looking at it that I wish. Because when you mention pain, that's part of pain that they are going through. But that can be misinterpreted to become different things. Now, we come here, sometimes they feel that we come to encroach them, evade them, that they have suffered, and we come here with no suffering. They see them plowing fruit for us to eat. And that is a pain. When you see it, in Nigeria we said, monkey they walk, bamboo they chop. That is something like that for them. That you guys come here from barbaric places and you want to take everything that would have been for us. So that is another issue. And it's difficult. I remember when Obama was president, they said it's not black enough.
Yeah, because he found a root in Kenya.
Exactly. So that blackness is
because the mother is white.
Of course. But it's difficult to entertain that for them. That pain is difficult to get over with. That's why now you hear the word descendant of slavery. who would like to be descendant of slavery? But because of the fact that they want to really show that pain, when you hear that somebody is a descendant, even though that is very painful.
It's painful
to see that way. And we have these places, we have the belief that they have gone through a lot, and we come here and they feel we didn't go through anything.
Contrary to what he says, many Black Americans are not jealous. We see ourselves as Americans. You Africans want us to validate you by claiming Africa. We can acknowledge our African ancestry and at the same time still be American. It appears that Africans have a very difficult time understanding that concept. Now, with respect to seeing you as primitive, that isn't a Black American thing. The world sees you guys like that. For example, if you go to a European soccer game, it is these fans that are throwing bananas on the field and making monkey noises at the African players. Black Americans aren't doing that to Africans. The difference between Africans and Black Americans is that we wouldn't tolerate that kind of disrespect anywhere. You guys will tolerate just about anything from white people just to gain their acceptance. Black Americans don't seek their validation. Black Americans largely see Africa as a third world country in need of help. Nothing on American TV casts you guys as primitive. This is an example of a 1960s UNICEF commercial.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Danny Kaye. Like most of you, I am concerned about the children in the war-torn areas of Nigeria. As you probably know, hundreds of children are dying every day of starvation and disease. And millions will die in the next few months unless help arrives very, very soon. It is always the children who die first. Look at this pathetic child. He looks like a very old man. UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, is rushing food to save as many children as possible. But the cost is enormous. And in this sudden emergency, UNICEF desperately needs your help. We cannot let this child starve, or the millions like him who are innocent victims of war. Please help. Send your contributions to UNICEF, care of United Nations, New York, 10017. Thank you very much.
If truth be told, Africa still has hunter-gatherer tribes like the Hadza tribe from Tanzania. Many could refer to them as primitive. Primitive in the sense that they still live the way their ancestors did thousands of years ago. You guys would have more credibility if you just would acknowledge that some Africans did participate in the slave trade. The Europeans did not go into the interior of Africa and started rounding up Black people. Let's keep it a buck.
Why is it that Black Americans hate Africans?
I don't know. Like, from what I've heard, I guess annoyance that they feel like Black Africans come to the country and they're given preferential treatment because there's this sort of belief that, you know, we work harder and we do this and but therefore we're like the good model minority.
Yeah.
Which in turn makes them look bad.
Yeah.
And that even though, I mean, the FDA and the ADOS lot, they say that they can distinguish who's Black American and who's African.
And I can't.
They say that there's like so many different, like, you know, you can easily distinguish and all that, which I think is a whole load of cap. There may be some truths to it. Like, at the end of the day, we know how white supremacy works, right?
Yeah.
And it does absolutely get off on causing division. That's how it's always been. And it's just unfortunate that people are actually buying into it, but they're mad at the wrong people. I just feel like the energy is completely misdirected. And like, even if those differences are there, 'cause I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt and say that there's some element of truth to that. Who is responsible for that?
We need more honesty about the misinformation that's been put towards both of us. Because when we've had this discussion multiple times, it's not often we get Black American honesty about the negative stereotypes they have. I say it, we say it, but they're like, no, we were open armed and welcoming. There was definitely negative stereotypes of immigrant Blacks perpetuated by Black Americans. So you can say that you're welcoming, but were you? And similarly, what was projected into into Africa and the Caribbean about Black Americans? Just be really honest about the propaganda that happened, and then we can get to honest dialogue.
First of all, the premise of the question is wrong. It presumes that Black Americans have a history of disliking Africans. I don't agree with that at all, because our history tells a complete opposite story. The question also exposes the cognitive dissonance that I talked about earlier in this video. Did they ask the question of themselves? Why did they dislike black Americans? They did not. And they do have a long history of doing that. Now, the idea that somehow we imagine that Africans are preferred over black Americans is ridiculous, because it's true. There's evidence to suggest that, because white America would rather deal with a docile Negro than an uppity American Negro. Let's document the historical record that clearly states that black Americans have shown nothing but love towards Africa for more than a century. There is no way that this question should even be asked. Let's start from the very beginning. Pan-Africanism was born in the United States in the mid-19th century with early thinkers like Martin Delany and Alexander Cromwell, both African Americans, and West Indian Edward Blyton, who is not pictured in this particular image, articulating the foundational concepts of black solidarity and economic development. While the first formal Pan-African conference was organized by a Trinidadian activist in London in 1900, the movement's key early figures and the mobilization against colonialism later in the 20th century was heavily influenced by black Americans. W.E.B. Du Bois was one of those individuals. The Black Panther Party was another organization that was about Pan-Africanism. They viewed the struggle of African Americans as part of a global anti-colonial movement and forged connections with Africa by building solidarity and liberation movements and establishing an international presence on the continent. To black Americans, the dashiki represents a strong connection to African heritage and a symbol of black pride and identity, and a powerful statement of cultural affirmation and resistance, particularly as adopted during the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power movement in the late 1960s. It serves as a way to honor African traditions, foster unity with black communities, and promote Afrocentricity and cultural reclamation in the United States.
African Liberation Day, which is traditionally celebrated throughout the African world each May 25th, was the occasion this year for the largest all-black assembly ever held in Washington, D.C. More than 30,000 blacks, representing a wide cross-section of political ideologies, gathered at the culmination of a two-day conference on Africa. The underlying themes behind the conference and march were to heighten the awareness of blacks in this country to the plight of our brothers and sisters in Africa, to create some ongoing organization that would actively aid black freedom fighters in those African countries still under white colonial rule, to begin to link our future as a self-determined, free people with that of Africans, and to begin to act as a unified body of blacks who will influence U.S. policy towards Africa.
The Black church isn't the only institution that supported the rights of Africans to liberate themselves from their colonial powers. The Nation of Islam has a history of advocating for the unification of black people around the world. Now, Minister Louis Farrakhan gave the most supportive response for Nigeria when a journalist named Mike Wallace suggested that Nigeria was the most corrupt country in the world. Now, I ask you this question. If black Americans didn't love Africa, why would we fight so hard to defend her? Now, I'm sure some people are going to say, well, Louis Farrakhan is Caribbean. Let's not get that twisted. While it is true that Farrakhan has West Indian ancestry, he is black American by birth, and he was socialized as a black American. It is also true that Malcolm X is black American as well. Let's keep it a buck.
View that most Jews have of Louis Farrakhan.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hand. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. Yes, you've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation, in my judgment. I didn't mean to be so fiery.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's my passion.
I don't think it can be underestimated that the amount of joy and pride that one of our own, Ryan Coogler, gave to the continent of Africa. We gave them something that they could not have given themselves, probably for the first time in history. At least for a moment, Africa was center stage.
What I remember is this interesting mix between the traditional and the postmodern. And something about the movie which I liked is that evil was punished at the end.
The costumes, they have amazing costumes. Like I think I have 3 dresses that I want to be made for.
Now, I'm a fan of hero movies. I've watched Captain America, The Avengers, and all that. I was very eager to watch this one, so I've actually enjoyed the most part of it.
I think it's more of like massaging the African ego. Like, we are strong, but we really don't know how strong we are.
To be honest, it's a great honor that Kisumu is the first place in Africa that this movie is screened. We are so happy that we are honored this way.
Personally, I feel privileged to have to watch the movie here in Kisumu, here in Africa. And Lupita Nyong'o is one of our own. She's our daughter, the daughter of Kisumu, the daughter of our governor. So we feel privileged.
The decision to identify as African American. Now, this is the main reason why the question that female podcaster asked at the top of the segment is nonsensical. How could a people who dislike Africans decide to identify with them? Now, for those who don't know, Jesse Jackson, along with other influential black leaders, thought it was time for a name change. So he decided that black Americans would be better off if we would connect ourselves to a landmass other than America. Black Americans, by and large, was enthusiastic about the name change. For nearly 30 years, a majority of black Americans identified as African American. Now, something happened in the last 25 years, and the reasons are multifaceted. But I would encourage the diaspora to self-examine yourself. Ask yourself, in what way did you contribute to the reason why significant numbers of black Americans abandoned that identity? As I said earlier, Most of us were tired of hearing things like, you don't have a culture. And then we watch you appropriate it. We were tired of hearing you say, you guys don't know where you come from. When in reality, you don't either. Many of your countries were created in recent years. Over the past 20 to 30 years, you guys have made it clear that we are not Africans. Now that we decided to delineate, you choose to see us as a people who is showing hate towards the diaspora. Now, just as you have set boundaries for your culture and guardrails for your culture, we decided to do the same thing. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, thumb up that video, share this information. It's so important. Until the next time, peace.